YouTube, what's going on? Andrew Darling here, Mr. Darling 4. Guys, I'm on day 14 with the Surface Book. I'm back on the front-facing camera. This time I've actually left it attached to the keyboard. So if you remember back in one of the early days, I think it was, day 3 or 4, something like that, I recorded with the front-facing camera, but I had it on a tripod. I didn't have it on the base or the actual keyboard itself. So the first thing I want to do is I want to talk about a couple days ago. It was day 11 or 12. And it looked like I was having an issue with actually detaching the tablet portion from the keyboard. And what the issue ended up being was the keyboard was not recognizing that the tablet was actually attached to it. So normally there's a little icon down at the bottom near the time, date, and all that fun stuff. And for whatever reason, it was showing the keyboard detached. So even though it was attached, I could use the keyboard, I could use the mouse, it was showing it as detached. So it was just having an issue of the angle I had it at. What I found out the problem was, after entirely too long of trying to figure it out, was that I had detached the top essentially while the device was in standby mode. And when I turned it back on, it was not re-recognizing, if you will, the keyboard for whatever reason. So what I'm gonna do is I might re-record a portion of that video just to show you guys. One thing you're noticing, and this is kind of another reason I did this on here, if you notice, there's a little bit of a wobble to the video. So that's just my arms. My arms are on the table. And I've noticed a little bit more wobble now that I've used the Surface Book as a laptop. And it's not so much like a lot of folks have complained about when you're touching the screen. It's just the instability itself. So listen, this isn't something that's going to sway me away from my purchase decision. It's not something that's going to make me not recommend the Surface Book to others. Can it be a little aggravating? Yes. Can it be a little annoying? Yes. But it's not something that I'm too terribly worried about. So far, like I said, I'm 2 weeks in, 14 days in. I really don't have much to complain about with the Surface Book, which for me, to not have much to complain about at all, that's saying a lot as far as a tech device, especially a tech device that is going to be so crucial and so important to what it is that I'm doing here in law school. And a lot of that, with being able to use the Surface Pen to take notes. Occasionally, if I write slow enough and well enough, I'm able to transcribe those notes into text format, which allows me to put them in a Word document, have a text reader read them to me during my wonderful 3 hours of travel a day. So, I mean, the Surface Book has solved every need that I was complaining about prior to buying the Surface Book. I didn't like writing on paper because it's another notebook I have to have. I didn't like having separate notebooks for every class because then you have to lug around separate notebooks and whatnot. My old Lenovo Y50, great computer, don't get me wrong, much more powerful even than the Surface Book, but it had about a 2-hour battery life, and it was big, it was clunky. It's basically a desktop that happens to be portable-ish. So getting to a computer like the Surface Book that allows me to take it everywhere, I don't have to worry about having the plug with me. I can usually charge it once a day, unless I spend a lot of time on the clipboard. And battery life has improved since the update. The actual explaining to me how much time is left on the battery life is still just wildly, I don't want to call it inaccurate, but it varies wildly. So you can turn the screen off, turn it back on, and it'll change 45 minutes to an hour. But that's pretty much my thoughts on the Surface Book. So again, this is the day 14. This is the front-facing camera. Again, if you're seeing the wobble, it's because the screen is still attached to the keyboard, and just by sitting here talking, I'm actually wobbling the keyboard. That was intentional, but most of the time, actually every other time, it hasn't been intentional. So that's pretty much it. Let me know in the comments below what other questions you have about the Surface Book. So I'm 14 days in, and I haven't gotten a lot of questions about you know, if you want to know, if you're considering purchasing it, what would sway your decision one way or another? So I do plan on still covering the keyboard. I plan on covering the rear-facing camera, and I plan on covering the actual power connector and some advantages, disadvantages to each of those. So let me know in the comments below. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. That's somewhere in probably this, maybe it's this. Hell, I don't know. It's down here somewhere. Subscribe to the channel. Like the video if you do like it. If you don't like it, give it a dislike. I don't care. It's your feelings. Okay, I care a little bit. But listen, guys, I appreciate it. Again, this is Andrew Darling. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. I don't really use Snapchat. YouTube, Mr. Darling 4, at Mr. Darling 4. Guys, I appreciate it. I've got some cool stuff coming to my law school channel here in the next 48 hours or so. We'll talk to you soon. We'll talk to you in the next one. Take care.